Hey there folks, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. You ever have those weeks where you wind up being kind of surprised, but you probably shouldn't be? Yeah, maybe call this looking past everything because I expected the cool down, but I'd argue the Hot 100 was more chaotic this week than even the last. And with another godforsaken Drake album bomb likely coming, it's not gonna make this easier. But seriously, another minor album bomb from YoungBoy Never Broke Again, even more single releases, and of course, a new number one, which takes us to our top 10, and that new song, The SCOTTS by Travis Scott and Kid Cudi. Yeah, I knew this song existed, but I honestly did not think it would pick up this much traction beyond a smattering of fan support as a curiosity. Apparently I was very wrong, because riding that huge Fortnite concert Travis Scott put on, this went to the top with huge sales, huge streaming, huge YouTube, and absolutely no radio. In other words, it's not going to hold the top spot, especially against a Drake release coming. But I'm not going to deny how significant this is. It proves that Travis Scott can go to the number one off the jump, and this is Kid Cudi's first ever number one. Hell, it's his first top 10 hit since Day and Night in 2008. Now, I'd attribute at least a part of this success to Blinding Lights by The Weeknd not exactly being an incredibly dominant song, as it fell down to number 2 with losses across the board, even the radio starting to drip away, which has indicated this might have finally peaked. Hell, that might also be coming true for 2C Slide by Drake 2 at number 3, which might be bound for number 1 next week thanks to what's coming, but for now, despite an absurd radio run, it's not really dominant on streaming or sales in the same way. Frankly, I would put more money on the success of Savage by Megan Thee Stallion, which recently got a remix with Beyonce, but even before that, it's up at number 4, riding a considerable surge across the board. Now this pushed back The Box by Roddy Ricch down to number 5, which kind of seems to be fading naturally on streaming, and it hit its peak on the radio, but that might also be the case for Say So by Doja Cat down to number 6, which also got a big remix with Nicki Minaj that's a lot less good, and it's gonna boost the radio, but it hasn't really produced the same spike in sales or streaming you would expect to shore up the weaknesses. Now that's not being done for Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa sliding down to number 7, but I'm not surprised. All it really has now is a radio, and that's not built to last forever, which might also be true for Circles by Post Malone as it's down at number 8 as it fades even more. I'd like to say that's true for Intentions by Justin Bieber featuring Quavo at number 9, but even as radio growth is slowing down, it only lost a step because it got overtaken. It only lost that much because Adore You by Harry Styles collapsed down to number 10 as its radio is now in free fall. And on that note, our losers and dropouts, and I'll admit I was kind of surprised here again. Yes, Bout by DaBaby clinched its year-end spot, and we're finally rid of No Guidance by Chris Brown featuring Drake, but along with Tusa by Karol G and Nicki Minaj falling away yet again, Best on Earth by Russ and Bia hit its 20 weeks and it's off the charts. And from the looks of things, it might just miss the year-end list. Thank God, it's terrible. Anyway, our losers are much more predictable, most of them linked to the DaBaby's album bomb fading away. Nasty with Ashanti and Megan Thee Stallion sliding down to 96, Find My Way losing all of its gains to 67, and Jump with YoungBoy Never Broke Again dipping down to 58. Then we get the more expected drop-off for More Hearts Than Mine by Ingrid Andress down to 43, and the continued collapse of Stupid Love by Lady Gaga at 61. Man, that song's underperformed. But what's more telling is the sharp drop for I'm Ready by Sam Smith and Demi Lovato down to 63. You're really sure you want to scrap that previous album rollout and run with this, Sam Smith? Really? But our larger story comes in our gains and our returns, and there were a lot of them rushing in to fill the gaps or capitalize on momentum, at least for this week. In the latter category, this means that BS by Jhené Aiko and Her is back at 93, but also Underdog by Alicia Keys at number 94, and I Love My Country by Florida Georgia Line at 95. And Travis Scott rode his big virtual concert wave with Highest in the Room surging back to 38, and even Goosebumps at 49, a song song I still really like to this day. And I wish I could be as positive about our gains. Yes, Pussy Fairy by Jhené Aiko back at 64, After a Few by Travis Denning rising to 44, and Does to Me by Luke Combs featuring Eric Church continuing to 30. That's all good news. And I'll even stick up for Savage by Megan Thee Stallion breaking into the top 10, and hell, even Bluebird by Miranda Lambert getting an unexpected boost to 70. But the rest of these, I mean, for one, I'm surprised God Whispered Your Name by Keith Urban actually caught a boost to 81, and Here and Now by Kenny Chesney getting up to 73, probably be up a little bit more next week thanks to the album, but at least it's better than Don Toliver's After Party at 78, or Ride It by DJ Regard at 80. Then we have Emotionally Scarred by Lil Baby getting pushed as a new single to 71, Out West by Jack Boys and Young Thug refusing to go away at 60, Super Lonely by Benny and Gus Dapperton at 48, and Beer Can't Fix by Thomas Rhett featuring John Party at 40. But I want to highlight a cluster of awful that's been slowly rising, and it's all really bad. If the World Was Ending by JP Sachs featuring Julian Michaels at 59, Heartless by Diplo and Morgan Wallen at 57, and Sunday Best by Surfaces all the way at 28. Again, two of these I call potentially being really big, and this is a prediction I really don't want to come true. But that being said, how much any of this survives Drake next week is open to debate. And since we got a hefty list of new arrivals, YoungBoy Never Broke Again didn't quite have enough for the full album bomb, more's the pity. Let's get started with number 99. Thug of Spades by YoungBoy Never Broke Again featuring DaBaby.
Even when I'm right a nigga wrong, any nigga won't see me gone. It's probably cause I'm a real nigga.
I mean, he's just returning the favor, right? Shame it's not nearly as good as Jump from last week. Well, because for some ungodly reason, YoungBoy decided to dispense with any coherent flow and let DaBaby take over the majority of the song, which actually seems to have an emotive through line and take itself a little bit more seriously, until DaBaby says people are comparing him to Tupac. No, dude, not even close. What frustrates me is that it's a song that's trying to be a little more aspirational, or at least defensive about the successes they've had, until it just defaults into default gunplay and flexing his below average production, where the bass is really leaden and the synths sound painfully chintzy, especially on that outro. So, yeah, not really a good start, nor a good sign for the rest of this, so, next. Number 97, Drinkin' Alone by Carrie Underwood.
It's better with somebody else who got problems. We ain't gonna solve them.
Well, about time she started pushing this. I've said I didn't really like Carrie Underwood's last project from 2018, but this was one of the better songs, and I do stand by that. It's not great by any means. The percussion and guitar mastering is really tinny in the upper register, and there's just way too much compression on the whole damn thing, which doesn't help the bassy vintage touches flatter the mix at all, and it all feels really claustrophobic, which is about the last thing you want for Carrie Underwood's voice. But you know what? With better production, this might have been workable. It's not a bad composition. For one, it plays into sour, lonely bitterness pretty effectively, especially for how much this hookup is probably going to be pretty lousy. And not only can Carrie sell this, there's also enough detail in the writing to make it feel more real. Hell, if the song was produced competently, it'd be one of her better hits in a while. But as it is, it's still good. Should be great, though. Number 92, Rough Rider by YoungBoy Never Broke Again.
Just another saying, blow his ass, another trace, another just a bitch you talking down or another nigga think he fucking with me.
Back to YoungBoy for a bit, and for a second I thought this was a tribute to the late 90s hip-hop collective that had DMX and Eve and the Locks. Sadly it's not. That might have been competently structured beyond the generic trap skitter and pile up the flows, as YoungBoy Never Broke Again tries to force his awkward delivery into a lot of threatening gunplay. I mean, it might be better mixed than the last song, but between YoungBoy forcing or outright dropping rhymes and then imitating Young Thug at his least interesting, this just feels really unfocused and lacking a lot of potency, not helped by the liquid guitar that's better suited for a Rod Wave song. It just sounds like a total mess, and not even an interesting one at this point. Next, number 90, Bout My Business by YoungBoy Never Broke Again featuring Sherhonda Gaulden.
And I came up straight up from the block. I watched my grandpa say penis.
So now we got the album opener from YoungBoy, where he actually got his mother to support him for a verse here on a song that's supposedly dedicated to his grandparents who came up from the bottom, which is why it's such a complete disappointment that YoungBoy defaults to questioning some girl's loyalty to him as he wants to start killing people again. Hell, I actually think his mom sounds kind of okay in her verse. The flow is more basic, sure, but it's got structure. It mostly stays on topic, which in comparison with YoungBoy's haphazard diction that has him say, "I watch my grandpa save pennies," but come out like, "I watch my grandpa say penis." I mean, it's a jarring contrast. That said, the production of the pianos and the more spare snap beat is fine, even though I think YoungBoy's voice is way too loud in the mix. Look, I get the feeling this song is going to be remembered for a lot of the wrong reasons. Unfortunately, even if it's not terrible. Number 86, Diamonds by YoungBoy Never Broke Again.
Fuck who ain't feeling me, ain't no getting rid of me. My money long life should be balanced once I'm gone.
You know, at least when YoungBoy talks about his guns and shooting people, there's some sense of drama, whereas him flexing about luxury brands, like usual, it's boring as tar. Now, to his credit, he's at least trying to be a little bit more focused on reflecting on his past come-up before shooting more haters and then cramming in a few bars about loving someone. And again, not only has he hammered this ground countless times before, even if the pianos are fluttery and kind of pretty, the really ugly vocal mixing is not doing him any favors. It seems to be a problem across this entire project here. So, no, YoungBoy, this does not motivate my soul. If anything, given how often you want to shoot people, I'm not sure it ever could. Number 84, Party Girl by StaySolid Rocky.
You ain't wifey type, but I don't care, I want you. She like to do drugs too. She in love with guns too.
Hey look, amidst all the mediocre trap from YoungBoy Never Broke Again, we got a mediocre trap song from a nobody. Really breaks up the monotony here. And in this case, it seems like he only has the one song which blew up on TikTok because of course it did. And at first I thought it might be okay. The vocal line sounds alright, the piano line sounds okay, the vocals are monotonous, but that can work at the hook clicks. But then the bass came in and swamps out everything. And while I get why this got popular off the hook alone, you dig into the one verse about this girl, and he's saying she booed up off the meth? I don't know, dude. Maybe her blowing you off the entire song might be a good thing if she's on meth and still likes drugs and guns. So yeah, there are songs that catch on TikTok where I get the staying power. I don't think this has it. Just saying. Number 83, Ain't Easy by YoungBoy Never Broke Again.
I do them bands and my bro so loud can't see me. I could've left him bleeding.
And let's round out the YoungBoy songs with what at least sounds like the best produced song here. Seriously, even if the beat is overweight and flooding some of the mix, the jittery piano, the bass and guitar, they have okay interplay. This could have had some promise until we're stuck with YoungBoy bringing out more threats against the brand name flexing and screwing girls. And I got two comments here. One, it's hard to buy into your lonely, angsty side when you consistently rotate through women almost dispassionately. And two, if this is your comeback for a reason, for one, you weren't gone for that long, this isn't really a comeback, and for another, what reason? Everything I've covered here is not as developed nor as interesting as what he's done in the past, and most of the productions just seems cribbed from Rod Wave. And while I would have been predicting that YoungBoy would exhaust his audience, with album bombs like this getting less and less traction, the overexposure might do it for him, especially without real growth in the content, or the delivery, or the sound. Even if this is his best of this week, it's still mediocre, and somehow I'm still disappointed. Next, number 68, Cool Again by Kane Brown.
Like we were last summer, want you again, you again, you again. To be still in my covers.
Desperate times where I'm stuck looking forward to a new Kane Brown song of all things in between all the forgettable trap, and wow, that was a mistake on that stuttering guitar melody alone. This is the point where I'm reminded that Kane Brown's brand of pop country comes with a lot of really ugly overproduction, like the tropical stutter percussion opposite the trap skitter, and that awkward auto-tune dropped onto the fragment of a bridge, and a sandy feel to the overall song that's trying to be breezy, but that Kane Brown is delivering with no no passion or investment whatsoever. I mean, I guess it might be appropriate, given how the entire song is an extended reminiscence about some girl from the previous summer that he wishes that he would now be cool with, but man, it feels blasé and undercooked. Kane Brown might be questioning where things went wrong, but I'm more confused what the hell even happened in the first place. The storytelling's just that uninteresting. But now Kane Brown has come out to say this song's more about going back to things the way they were before the pandemic, which feels like one hell of a stretch to try and make this seem relevant. But even if it was, man, it's not good. Not good. Pass. Number 65, Sasuke by Lil Uzi Vert.
Yeah, she's so nasty. Yeah, she's so nasty. Yeah, she's so nasty. Yeah, she's so nasty. Yeah, she's so nasty.
Okay, I have to ask, Uzi, what are you doing? You put out entirely too much forgettable mediocrity not that long ago, and then in the midst of a beef with Playboy Cardi, where I think everyone lost, you push this? The one thing I can say is that the production's kind of pretty, some ghostly backing melody behind some pretty standard percussion, but emphasized above everything else is Uzi doing a Cardi impression and just about confirming how goddamn annoying both their voices really are. What's frustrating is that Uzi has proven he can rap. He doesn't need to double down on the formless ad-libs and mindless repetition of brand names and girls sucking his dick with no teeth, and it's a little bit rich for him to say that Cardi's biting him when Uzi's been co-opting flows and styles from plenty of other rappers the past 5 or so years. But the biggest problem is similar to what I heard on Eternal Take. After a while, the flex just get really tedious, and that happens within the confines of the song itself. Probably the most interesting thing is the Naruto reference, and even then, it feels barely even explored. So yeah, this is bad for everyone involved. Next, number 45, All In by Lil Baby.
Yeah. So let the doors in, go hard, yeah, care. I'm going all in.
Hey folks, for some ungodly reason, do you want to hear more Lil Baby from that last album? Well, apparently he's got a deluxe edition coming, and this is a single from it, and look, I have never liked this guy, so am I supposed to be interested in even more newfound flexing where his flow barely connects and rhymes together, followed by him saying that his haters have women tendencies? Yeah, if that was an insult, I'm fairly certain a rapper like Megan Thee Stallion could turn you to lunch meat, especially when on your second verse you're interpolating Tatiana. And in a song about going hard or going all in, you'd think the production would give him something to work with, maybe a bombastic Meek Mill-esque thing, beyond your utterly standard trap beat, clunky autotune, and spare synth atmospherics. It just sounds incredibly undercooked. In other words, it to me just exposes that upcoming deluxe album, obvious cash grab, that'll probably do more to overexpose him as well. I'm not complaining, because this isn't good. Number 11, Righteous by Juice WRLD.
Yeah, I know that the truth is hard to digest. Yeah, 5 or 6 pills in my right hand.
Well, this is only going to be a matter of time. I knew we'd be getting the posthumous Juice WRLD project sooner rather than later, given that every remix with him has overperformed, but I still had no interest in hearing it. I've never been a fan. He put out a lot of bad music. I had no expectation this would be good, and yeah, it's actually alright. Yeah, this is fine. The dreamy guitar layering, the more lethargic feel that the trap skitters work into pretty well. It certainly sounds a lot better produced than a lot of Juice WRLD songs or pretty much everything I've heard this week, and the content actually kind of works for the vibe. It falls into the very limited vein of the Juice WRLD songs I actually did like, which were more about trying to coast out through some of the misery that came with drug abuse and battling your inner demons, where all the flexing, it's not helping, and this song captures that pretty well. Now, I'm not really gonna go say that it's deeper than just the experience, and it does pick up a lot of haunted context given his passing. If he was alive, I'm not sure this would hit quite as well, but unlike most of XXXTentacion's posthumous work, it actually feels like a song that Juice WRLD fully completed before he passed away. Hell, if he released more stuff like this, might have wound up liking him more. But yeah, I'll admit it, this is a good song. Check it out. And finally, number 1, The SCOTTS by Travis Scott and Kid Cudi.
From outside, straight to the couch. We put the mic outside. Edit out.
And now we got our new number 1, the big breakthrough I've been hyping this entire video, and seriously, this is it? And yeah, I had nearly identical to the same reaction I had when Highest in the Room went to number 1, but I think it's valid here. We only got 2 verses with some pretty standard flexing content that serves more to hype up the collab rather than add any detail. There's no hook, and while the outro sounds pretty kick-ass with the cascades of gummy synthesizers, that doesn't compensate for most of the rest of the song sounding really off-kilter and flat in the background. Hell, some of the synthesized guitar pickup sounds like it's in the process of dying altogether. It feels more like an intro or a transitional passage than a full song, riding on the promise of more than what it actually delivers as we get a lot of glassy trap flutters off the leaden bass. It's not Through the Late Night, that's all I'm saying. I mean, in comparison with the rest of the week, it sounds okay, but as I've said before, it's a song riding on a hype more than sustainability, and given it's probably going to lose that number 1 pretty quickly, I'm not going to be surprised. But that's our week. Man, 2 weeks in a row of flat garbage, my god. Now, the worst, you think Sasuke by Lil Uzi Vert would get it, but Cool Again by Kane Brown is the song I'd argue is the most worthless here, so Uzi's getting the dishonorable mention. Whereas for the best, I'm gonna go with Drinkin' Alone by Carrie Underwood for the honorable mention. I mean, if the production was good, it would have the top spot, but that's going to Righteous by the late Juice WRLD. Hey, it's a good song that actually feels well produced. But next week, we get entirely too much Drake, so strap in for that, folks. Might go for 3 for 3 here. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.